Sir, I rise to present the budget for 1993-94. It is now 20 months since our government took office. 20 eventful months in which we have worked ceaselessly to overcome the very difficult economic situation we inherited. The economy was in the throes of an unprecedented balance of payments crisis. A savage squeeze had been imposed on imports. International confidence had collapsed. Industrial production was falling and inflation was on the rise. The sense of crisis is now behind us. We have restored a measure of normalcy to our external payments. The annual rate of inflation has been reduced. International confidence has been restored. Agriculture has performed well in the current year and industrial production is beginning to recover. The economic strategy we have followed, resting on the twin pillars of fiscal discipline and structural reform, has been vindicated by the decisive upturn. Fiscal discipline was necessary because the government had lived for too long beyond its means. The rising fiscal deficits of the central government were the root cause of our balance of payments problem, rising prices, and high rates of interest. We have made good progress by reducing the fiscal deficit in the current year. Policies of structural reform aimed at increasing efficiency in recourse use and improving our international competitiveness were crucial for providing a lasting solution to the payments crisis. It was necessary to restructure our trade and industrial policies, encourage efficiency through greater domestic competition, allow our producers to have access to imports at reasonable rates of duty, encourage foreign investment and upgradation of technology, and progressively integrate the Indian economy with the world economy. Without these reforms, India would face the certain prospect of entering the 21st century as just about the poorest country in Asia. I am convinced that the Indian people would never tolerate such an outcome. India's natural and human resources entitle us to think in terms of becoming a major powerhouse of the world economy. Our reforms are inspired precisely by this vision. The policy initiatives we have taken to not in any way reduce our commitment to take care of the poor and the disadvantaged. On the contrary, we have taken steps to minimize the burden of adjustment on the poor and working classes. We have disproved those professional prophets of gloom who were predicting millions of people becoming unemployed. When we embarked on this path, we knew that the benefit of our policies would only be seen after 3 to 4 years. Patience is therefore essential. Nevertheless, honorable members can take comfort that the early results are certainly encouraging. Inflation is down and production is beginning to recover. Fears of being swamped by imports as a consequence of liberalization have proved to be grossly exaggerated. Although the rupee has been floated for most current account transactions, the market exchange rate has remained relatively stable. The investment climate has improved considerably. Corporate capital issues by non-government public limited companies in April to October during the previous year were higher. Loans sanctioned by financial institutions in the first 10 months were higher than in the same period of the previous year. Foreign investors are showing active interest in investment in many sectors, including critical infrastructure sectors such as power and petroleum. Nevertheless, there is no room for complacency. Fiscal imbalances are still large. The efficiency and resource generating capacity of public sector enterprises are still very inadequate. Inflationary expectations have not yet been purged from the system, and inflationary pressure could easily build up again if fiscal discipline is relaxed. The economy is still vulnerable to external shocks and loss of confidence. The riots and disturbances in December and January have also taken their toll by disrupting domestic production and exports and by casting doubts about the stability of our policy and society and our determination to preserve with the difficult task of economic reform. We can ill afford such doubts. The priorities for economic policy at this critical stage of our economic restructuring are very clear. We must continue with the fiscal correction to ensure that inflationary expectations are effectively curbed. To this end, the fiscal deficit, both at the center and in the states, must be further reduced. The room for fiscal maneuver gained by restraining expenditure over the past 2 years must be used to give a strong fillip to development expenditure during the year, especially for programs of poverty alleviation, rural development, and the vital social services such as education and health. We must make further progress with our announced strategy of tax reform, moving to a simpler tax system with moderate rates and much greater focus on compliance. We must ensure that our economic strategy gives full support to agriculture, on which the livelihood and well-being of the majority of our people depend. Finally, exports must be made a truly high priority national endeavor so that we can move as quickly as possible to managing the balance of payments without the need for continued exceptional financing from abroad. To the Standard Mills Company Limited, Bombay 10, Dear Sirs, having not received any reply for my previous letter, I wrote to you again on the first instant with the request that you would send along certain goods. I am very happy that today I have received your note in reply, which has my best attention. You will be delighted to know that I have at last persuaded Messrs. John Burton Company of Madras to give our goods a trial. They have ordered several pairs of our Bombay lace curtains. They have left it entirely to us to send them what we think would be most suitable. It is very important that we should retain their custom by letting them have a thoroughly good article, and I intend to send them some of our finest pattern quoting our best terms. I tried to see Mr. Ramlal today about the new designs he has promised to let us have, but unfortunately he was out when I called. I shall try to meet him again tomorrow. I find that there is an increasing demand for intricate and elaborate patterns. I think we could greatly increase our trade if we seized the opportunity offered and put a fuller range of designs on the market without any delay. I gather from your note that you quite understand the importance of selling our stock of old patterns. I shall, in accordance with your wishes, offer it to wholesalers in large quantities at greatly reduced prices. I am not certain whether I mentioned it to you in my last report that Messrs. Bright and Company, one of the leading firms in Ceylon, had ordered 50 pairs of lace curtains of a good design and requested that they should be shipped to them at once. I regarded this as very important and shipped the goods at the first opportunity. I have not yet heard whether they arrived safely, but I am awaiting a note from them. On the whole, the trade has improved recently, and I am satisfied that we are doing as well as can be hoped for this time of the year. Yours faithfully,